What's going on? What's going on, everybody? It is the only sports podcast. This is Will here. This took so long because I was waiting for Casino. Casino finally said, "Oh, I can't come." So now it's just me talking about. I mean, this channel we mostly talk about football, but there is some times where just ginormous things happen in other sports that we have to talk about. Also, after this week, we're going to obviously be less football focused, more NBA, NHL focused. So, without further ado, the first news story of the after Christmas, start of the new year, when everybody kind of starts paying attention more to the NBA because NFL is over. Obviously, NHL is the same thing where everybody just kind of starts paying more attention to them. Uh, but man, the start of the Super Bowl week, the biggest news story was not anything involving the Chiefs or the Eagles, but instead involving Anthony Davis and Luka Doncic, which is honestly a name I don't know if I've ever said correctly. You know how terribly we are with names on this. But so the Mavs decided to trade their star player, arguably the second best player in the league, the first best player in the league. Nobody can argue that he's out of the top three, right? You obviously have Jokic, you have Giannis, and then I think it's Luka, and you can debate which of those you like. Also, those three have all led within the past 5 years, all led their teams to the NBA Finals. And let me check my notes here. Yeah, Luka just did it last year. So they're ninth in the West right now. It's he's been out since Christmas with an injury. So it's not like, they're having the same type of run they did last year. But if we remember correctly, they were the fifth or sixth seed in that Western Conference Finals. And then, let's see who did it. Oh yeah, Luka led them to the finals with Kyrie Irving. And then obviously they got beat by a much deeper, a much better Celtics team. But still, you have one of the top five guys in the league that if he's on your roster, you're more than likely when it gets to the playoffs, there's a chance you can go to the finals. There's a chance you can win the title, right? I mean, speaking of the Mavs, who thought that a Dirk team would beat the Heat, right? And then they did because they had Dirk playing at his all-time prime during that, whole finals run. But Luka, I mean, let me just double check his age. Isn't he 26 years old? I wrote so many notes down and I forgot to write his age, but he is 25 years old. That is crazy. He was born in 1999. Nothing makes me feel older than people really good at their jobs I mean, it feels like half my age, but really it's just 10 years younger. I'm not 35 yet, 34. But let's talk about this trade because it is last night I worked till midnight. We got our whole thing got renovated, so we don't have like TVs that have cable. We're just doing like apps. So I was literally just watching the Falcons Patriots Super Bowl. Nobody really said anything, it was kind of a slow night, whatever. I finish working at midnight. I see the news story. I immediately text Casino and I'm like, this is crazy. After, verifying that it was in fact real, been listening to podcasts and stuff about it all day, reading news articles and stuff. It is just, we've never seen, because people keep trying to do like, what's the equivalent? What's the comp? We've never seen a comp like this. The last time, so I wrote this down, the last time he has the highest career average for a player since 1979 when Kareem was traded from the Bucks to the Lakers, and both of them were traded midseason. So he is averaging this season 28.6 points per game. And again, he's missed a lot of time this year with injuries, right? So this is even low for him, the 28 points a game, but still, it's the highest career average for a player that's been especially traded mid-season. So you look at how this changes the landscape of both the Lakers, the Mavs, and really the NBA. So Anthony Davis, who I know is 31 because that's one of the things I don't know that I just remember, but he's a 31-year-old with a history of injury problems who was on a Lakers team that helped win a title in Again, a bubble season that there should be asterisks with it. There won't be because it's LeBron and the Lakers and blah, 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 blah. And that was also one of the things that you could tell during that series or during that, finals run where teams were just like, I'm sick of being in the bubble, right? Didn't like the Clippers all just come out? Like there was like 5 players who were just like, man, we just want to go home. So that's a topic for another day. But regardless, Davis helped win that title for the Lakers. Davis is a great defender. When he's on the court, he, is one of the top 10 players in the league that is dominant or can be dominant at his position. But again, Luka is one of the top 3. So you see so many trades in the NBA where how many times has James Harden been traded or Kevin Durant or like these big name stars where it's like, oh, let's do 3 1s. Let's do a pick swap. Let's do 5 1s. Just, a bunch of role players and all this kind of stuff. This was just Luka Doncic. Again, a guy not even in his prime. A guy who's either entering it or just entered it last year, right? And just a guy who is at the top of his game and still not at his peak, which is crazy. He's one of the best scorers in the league, and one of the best like get a bucket guys in the league, one of the best players in the league who again, much like Jokic, can just lead his team to a finals because we just saw it. We saw it less than 10 months ago. Like it's just it's so crazy. And all he's traded for is Anthony Davis and a first round pick. People have done, the comps and stuff. Like for NBA, I literally think this is the equivalent of like trading Josh Allen right now for what? Dak Prescott? And like all the Cowboys give up is like a first round pick. But again, that doesn't even do it because at least Davis has won a title. So it's like Stafford. It's like literally trading Matthew Stafford for what? Josh Allen. Yeah, it's like Matthew Stafford for Josh Allen, and then all you do is give them like, a second round pick. Like this is absolutely, absolutely crazy. And you look at the standings right now. Lakers are 5th. Mavericks are 9th. But again, the Mavs are dealing with injuries to Luka and all that kind of stuff. And then there was that weird, bizarre. I'm almost glad I waited to record this so you can just see like kind of all the fallout of it. Obviously, all the NBA players, sports stars in the world were like, this is crazy. Rightfully so, because it is crazy. I spent 20 minutes last night like double checking and triple checking to make sure this was real, and it is. So yeah, it's just one of those things where you look at it and you just go, why does this happen? What benefit does the Mavs get out of this? And they did a press conference with, I believe, their GM and their coach, and both of them were just like, oh yeah, the ownership group was like, yeah, we could do this. And, if it doesn't work, everybody's probably going to make fun of us or, blah, blah, blah. And Jason Kidd, the coach of the Mavs right now, is kind of just like, like, just like awkwardly laughing, like as if the GM, and then, the GM like does like a fake laugh. And it's just like, what is the reasoning? And again, I've heard the other side of the coin with the Lakers where it's just like, oh, well, they traded Davis to the Mavs and now the Mavs are in win now mode and all that kind of stuff. And it's like, the Mavs were just in the NBA finals. What do you mean they're in win now mode? Like, oh, I've heard like, yeah, the Mavericks, are have a 2 or 3 year window now where they're like legit contenders. And then it was just like, yeah, you know what? They also had a 10-year window, maybe more with Luka, and they were just in the finals. Anthony Davis and LeBron James, if I remember correctly, didn't they just get swept in the finals, or was that 2 years ago? Regardless, they didn't make it, right? They've been in the play-in game. They've been closer to always being in the play-in game than they've been to, contenders, much like the Mavs are. And now you look at the Lakers, and it's just like all the messiness of the LeBron, getting older, bringing his son in, which again is an issue that I feel like is blown way out of proportion, but it's still where it shows he still has that control, which kind of rightfully so, right? Second, arguably first best player in NBA history. My book, he's second, but I know people disagree with that, or some people do. And so you just look at the Lakers now, instead of planning like what happens when LeBron leaves. Hopefully, they got some big names, traded for somebody, blah, blah, blah. They just get, I mean, they lose a first round pick next year in a draft that they were probably going to be picking in the 20s anyway. So the NBA draft, much unlike the NFL draft where you're getting guys who are starting in the fifth, fourth round, that kind of stuff. The NBA draft is always like maybe you get lucky with a late first round or a second round pick or whatever, but outside of the top 10 picks, maybe even, I mean, recently it's been like outside of the top 5 picks, like nobody really cares about the NBA draft. Like even teams don't, because they can just get Luka like for a first round pick. Again, a first round pick that the Lakers, it's going to be in the 20s. It might be late 20s. It could be the 30th pick in the first round. It's so weird. This is just, again, this isn't breaking new ground, but much like everybody else, I can't understand this. It's insane. I just keep looking at this paper, just being like, all they had to do was do one first round pick. And again, it's like the trade deadline isn't even over. So it's not like a sudden rush to get this in before the trade deadline happened. The trade deadline, I believe, is still till like Tuesday or Wednesday. So, and then all of a sudden, Saturday night, again, we're on the West Coast. So it was like midnight, or I think 11:30 when it broke on the West Coast. And it was just like, oh yeah, they just did it real quick and didn't leak. Nobody heard anything about it. There's insiders for the Mavericks, like reporters and journalists and stuff being like, oh yeah, we heard no rumblings. Luka, I guess, is just stunned and just like, talking about how there's no loyalty and all that stuff. I don't know if that's real or just a meme, but it should be real. And then I haven't seen it on Twitter. I'm assuming it's on there and will be on all the social media things where they always do that thing where it's just like even 2K won't let you do this trade. And it's just like, I don't need to see that meme to be like, yeah, no, that's obvious. Like, why would 2K let you do this meme? You're trading a 25-year-old in his prime for a 31-year-old, arguably still in his prime, but again, an injury-prone guy, again, who's not the top, arguably the second best player in the league right now, who just led his team to a finals. I feel like that's the thing I just keep harking on. And it's just like, yeah, now the Lakers outlook, it's going to be like, yeah, they're going to be rough to watch on defense, but they're going to outscore everybody. Like LeBron, everybody's like, how are LeBron and Luka going to exist on the same team? And it's like, LeBron will just pass more. He's a great passer. Like one of his most underrated, basketball traits is he's great at getting the ball to scorers. And he's never played with a guy like Luka who can get a basket at any time, except for, prime Kyrie. And he won a NBA finals with him. So shocking, crazy, one of the craziest sports trades maybe ever. And this is one of those ones where it's like, not even like, oh, that pick, turned into, this isn't a Dallas Cowboys Minnesota Vikings trade, where it was just like, oh, those 3 picks eventually turned into Aikman and Irvin and Emmitt Smith. It's just like, this would be like the Vikings doing that trade with Dallas, like being like, okay, we'll give you, who was it? The running back. It was like, it wasn't Dorsett. It was, I'm blanking on it, but whatever. It's like, let's give this running back to you and our first round pick. And in return, you'll just get the triplets right now, all as rookies. And then they were just like done. And it's like, why would you do that trade? You're trading for an older guy and a first round pick with a guy that you're hoping you get in the draft with that first round pick. It's just, again, like everyone else, and this is just beating a dead horse, but absolutely stunned. Absolutely stunned. Again, not as a Lakers fan, I'm not even a Lakers hater. They're just kind of not I root for the Sixers, so it's not even like it's, it was a West to a West, so it doesn't really affect the East that much. And it's not like the Sixers are going to get to the finals, so they have to not like they have to worry about the Lakers. But for the league, dear Lord, it's just, and again, always has to happen to the Lakers. If this was a trade where it sent Luka to what? Memphis, if it sent him to Atlanta, if it sent him to Houston, that would be, it'd still be shocking breaking news, but it wouldn't be like, oh my God, he's going to, one of the biggest brands in all of sports. And again, the Mavs, they're going to be good. Like they have Kyrie Irving, they have Davis. They're probably going to be a much better defensive team with Davis. But again, would you rather have, and all this stuff that come out where it's just like, oh, he's out of shape. He's doing all this. He's kind of doing all like he's eating too much. He weighs too much. So then pay him or pay a trainer, pay him to diet. Again, with this trade, he doesn't get the, I believe it was a 5-year, like $375 million extension or something like that. And it's just like, well, the Mavericks didn't want to pay him that. And it's like, why? You're gonna, if you, the next good player you get that's on your team, you're gonna have to pay them the supermax contract. And right now it's 375. In what, 2-3 years, it's going to be over 400. So it's like, pay the guy that makes your team relevant, that makes your team a finals contender every year. And again, oh, he's overweight, he's all that kind of stuff. He's averaging 28.6 points per game. So if he's out of shape and doing this and he's still the second best, the second, third, first best player in the league, then guess what? Work on his conditioning, get him in shape if that's your main issue, and he's going to be a better player than he is now by all intents and purposes. And if he's not, then he's what, going to drop down to 25 points per game? Like, doesn't make any sense. It's just, I've rambled too long about this, but give me your thoughts in the comments about one of the most shocking trades in sports history and just your thoughts on it. This has been the Only Sports Podcast. I'm Will. Adios.